So out of your entire career, has there been like a person, a mentor, or just somebody you've followed from a distance that has inspired you, or somebody that you'd like to interview or maybe have dinner with and just pick their brains?
Oh, there you go. Someone to pick their brains with. I mean, there's a. I mean, you find yourself in, especially in. I mean, as you know, I'm 30. How old am I? 38 now, and I've been consciously on this journey since I was 12. So, and prior to that, there was like I said, many of readings and interactions with books and stuff. So I guess there's depending on the current understanding. I mean, I would really love to sit down and pick the brain of Elon Musk. I'd love to know a little bit more about what makes him tick and what has driven him to be to embrace some of the things he's done. If I had a choice, I would have loved to have sat down with Tesla himself and actually, really, because I mean, he was already, he was studying esoterics. He was studying, so much more than just science. He was the epiphany to me of someone who was a true explorer of knowledge, because he wasn't just going, oh well, I only believe in science. He realized, hang on a second, there's so much more. Yeah. And I mean, so for me that was because he also was outside of many, I guess,
Groups like societal.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't caught up. So I would, so for me, Tesla is, if I could bring anyone back from the dead and have a good old yarn with them, sit down physically and pick their brain, he would be one of them. But then
it's interesting that you said Elon Musk and him, because a lot of people believe that Elon Musk is the reincarnation of Tesla.
Yeah, which could also be explaining why he's going ahead in leaps and bounds.
And why he called his car company Tesla.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And then in saying that, there's a couple of more recent ones, like Russell Brand. To me, he is a bloke who has really, there's been a massive change going on in his consciousness, in his psyche, in his thing.
It's a walk-in, isn't it? I mean, the moment I saw him change from actor to this more philosophical, I thought, oh, he's had a walk-in.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
His spirit, the first entity that was in him, basically must have killed itself in the drug phase, I think, and then this philosophical person saw an opportunity where he could be a person that people, would listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so he's one of those that I would love to sit down and do an interview for. I know I'd have to, record it, because there'd be just so much going on. But also to see energetically what is going on, because it is just, I mean, from when I've listened to his interviews and stuff like that, I know from being a live channeler what it's like, but to channel multiple beings and stuff in even split seconds. For him, it's like the fundamental changes that go on are just so profound in his thought process, and the way that it's working, again, it'd be one of those people that I would love to sit down and, yeah, the only thing is I'd have to have a recorder, because I don't think I'd remember anything he said, because I'd be sitting there just going, holy snap, what the hell is happening here? You know, so yeah, so, you know, like looking at people like that, because there has been that huge fundamental change, and understanding, okay, when did this happen and what has happened to produce this complete shift in you know, in mindfulness, in consciousness. Exactly. So you know, that would be one of those people that would be fascinating to talk to. I mean, you've got the Joe Rogans and stuff like that I would also love to, you know, have a good old convo with, and all that sort of stuff, because again, it's just, I mean, especially where they're also, I mean, it's funny, I'm actually, you know, I've just realized I've looked at 3 or 4 very strong male dominated people who are triggering this you know, this response, but what they're doing is helping it come through the masculine line, come through that you know.
You should check out Jordan Peterson if you haven't already checked him out.
Yeah, right, Jordan Peterson. Yeah, righto.
Yeah,
Cool.
he wrote a book which I read, and then I started Googling him on YouTube, and wow, he's amazing. You know, the very first thing you should watch is, there was a Channel 4 interview with him and Kathy. I've forgotten her name. A lady called Kathy Newman. I think Newman. Yeah. Look at that first before, and then you will come away and you will just be amazed at that interview. It's this particular interview has been seen by a lot of people as the moment where toxic femininity was revealed.
Yeah.
Because and he was promoting the reason, he kind of promotes the reason why we've got a lot of very angry white youth, and who are doing things like shooting up schools and stuff like that, is because they're confused. They don't know their place in the world anymore, because women's empowerment has risen, and the roles that men traditionally had are now being usurped or shared, and but society hasn't learnt how to kind of balance the energies. So but he's very intelligent. He's a Canadian professor who he came to fame initially because Siri's just kicked in. Jordan Peterson Siri. Gone back to the binaural bit. I hate it when it does stuff like that. I have that happen a bit with Siri. She just, in the middle, nothing's happening, and suddenly she'll pop on and ask a really weird question. It's just like, okay, I'm being monitored, you know.
But that's the thing. Like, it's really interesting, because you do have those, you know, I guess especially in a you know, where we're in that real strong sort of goddess feminine, you know, push. I mean, this is like the you know, second or even third wave of feminism coming through. It's you know, like, you've got these people like Jordan and, you know, Russell and Elon and all that sort of stuff that are still trying to keep that balance. They understand that there is roles to play, and I think that's the thing. When you appreciate that we cannot exist without the other, we need the unification. It's and that's, from the sound of it, what Jordan was talking about was this unification of the masculine and feminine. I mean, men still have female hormones, and women still have male hormones. I mean, we are there. So I guess the thing is realizing that there is the ebbs and flows, the times, the cycles that in actual fact that we need to, you know, fundamentally embrace them. And if we can do that, then of course, we can then teach the younger generation coming up that it's okay, like there is going to be ebbs and I think that's why we're also going through such a strong gender neutrality with thought processes and all that sort of stuff as well, so because everyone's trying to work out, well, do I have to be more feminine, do I have to be more masculine, do I have to be more this, do I have to be more that, rather than just be you, just be however it is that you need to be in this moment, and it's okay. What I mean?
Well, I've just sent you a link to the interview in the chat, so you can go check that out.
Cool.
But the reason he became so prominent was he's a Canadian professor, and he's a clinical psychologist, and he's been one for 30 plus years. And basically what happened was the Canadian government ruled that you must use correct pronouns for transgender people in Canada, and if you don't, then it's a crime, basically.
Wow.
So basically they put in place a law which he objected to, and basically said, you can't tell me, you shouldn't be able to dictate this. If I see it as male and female only, then I should be allowed to do that. But you're saying if I deny that there's a third or 73 genders, because nothing at this point had actually been defined as to what is a gender or anything, but they had already put a law in place. So he was actually objecting to the Canadian government putting a law in place, which people could then be sent to jail for. And so that's how he kind of came to prevalence. And of course the media misconstrued and just thought he was like a typical white male supremacist who didn't like transgenders, but it wasn't that at all. It was it. And if this is what really annoys me, is the way the media takes the wrong concept of what's actually occurred. If they'd done a little bit of research, they would have realized it was the fact that he was being forced to do something under penalty of a crime being committed, and he didn't, on something that he didn't think was based in science, which is his field. It's like and he had 30 years of experience, and
I think especially too, where you get, like, at the end of the day, because you see it, because you see the whole there's a, like, nowadays it's all looking for the absolute worst case scenario, instead of doing, as you said, their research and then sort of going, hang on a second, this guy's actually, he's sort of
got something.
He's onto something. Let's interview him and actually get the actual right information from him. It is all led in a certain way. It is all sort of it's very much all about getting the craziest or the most assuming the worst, and not for the case that. But it's all for likes. It's all for
for clickbait. It's clickbait. That's what they call it. It's basically to get people to click on the screen, and instead of, this is why a lot of news organizations no longer classify as news. They're opinion based. And like, I think a prime example is CNN. I mean, when that shouldn't even have news at the top. It should just be CN. I love a lot of people call it the Clinton News Network. But basically you shouldn't have the word news anywhere near it, because they've been proved so many times to produce fake news, and they are probably the number one proponent of it, next to the Washington Post and the New York Times. And if you look back on the history of, like, the New York Times and Washington Post, those previous journalists and editors must be, turning in their graves at what's happening now. It's just awful. And it's all down to clickbait. The moment we moved in, I actually wrote a paper on this my first term at uni, and it was basically saying what's happened to media it was a comparison between traditional media, that's your print-based media, and more digitized, and basically the primary thing that's happened is the digitization of news has created an instant response rate for people. They expect to know things instantly, whereas in the old days, it might take a journalist a month to research a good article or story, and then you know what I mean. And so basically the remuneration in the area has dropped, which means they can't employ as many journalists. So what they've done is they've supplemented journalism with blogging. And they use, and a lot of people who blog for free. They don't actually have to pay them, but it means their fact checking is zero. And so basically what's happening is opinion now. And as we know, like arseholes, everybody has an opinion, and I love that saying, so everyone has an arsehole and an opinion. And basically what's happened to media is the digitization has produced a lot of media being produced based on opinion rather than actual facts, and fact checking has been, and to get that clickbait and that instant, they need to enrage people. So instead of doing positive articles, the easiest way to get an emotional is to annoy people or to make them angry. So and hence you have media on all these different things which are hoaxes, or it's just ridiculous. So not a good time for media at the moment.
Lots of miscommunication, considering that is meant to be like, the fundamentals of journalism is communicating the truth, communicating events, communicating history. I mean, it's which is a real shame.
The thing that upsets me the most at the moment is in countries like the US and UK, they are now destroying history. They're destroying statues. They're destroying. We need to keep things like that in place so that we learn. There's always a record of it.
Exactly.
What happens is every time a country is taken over or a battle is won, the first thing the victors do is destroy the records of the ones that they've conquered, which means, no one ever learns the lessons. And this is why, and I think at the moment, the biggest casualty is intelligence in debate. I mean, I find it very difficult to actually have debates with people because they'll straight away accuse you of being something if you just want to debate a point which is controversial.
Yeah, exactly.
And what they think is controversial and what you don't think is controversial is usually the same thing. So
it's opinion. It's opinion. You know what I mean? Like it's and unfortunately, we're not going to learn by covering up, and we're not going to, because all it means is and you can see it, all it means is that we just keep doing the same stuff over and over again because they're rehashing it in their way. They're not actually growing from it. They're not actually letting it go. They're just rehashing it because they haven't got a reference. I mean, when you look back at even law, I mean, they can go back however far, especially in the States, they can go back however far, such and such verse, such and such, and they can utilize that as reference or something. But then in saying that, and so from a certain extent, that's where sometimes laws are changed because they go, hang on a second, that's a massive loophole or whatever. Whereas, unfortunately, with our divide and conquer style mentality, is the moment that we conquer something, as you say, we destroy everything, and therefore then we're suddenly stuck at step one again, which is hang on a second, how did we get here again? You know what I mean? And we repeat the same mistakes.
Well, I mean, I was doing some research for a future interview with a free energy proponent who's also thinks that climate change, global warming, is the biggest hoax we've ever hit. And when I was doing some research for it, I discovered that the Earth has actually been cooling since the medieval warm period between 900 and 1300 AD. So pretty much there's been two spikes of heat. One was I've forgotten. I think it was about 100 AD or something, and then it cooled, and then it didn't get back to, and then in the 900 to 1300 AD period, it dropped again. It got really, really hot then, but then since that time, we've gone significantly down. So for about a 400-year period, it was hotter on Earth than it is now, but it then cooled itself down to where we are currently. So, and like recently, there's been an Australian meteorologist come out who measures sea levels around the. He actually proved he had a chart which goes from 1910 to 2019, and he checked sea levels in the same place for over 100 years, and the sea levels rose and they fall, and they rise and they fall. And guess what? They rise and then they fall, and that over that 110-year or whatever difference, the difference has been 13 centimeters, and it's actually been lower, not higher.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
So, so and like when you look back over history and you see things like that, and you like I thought there must be something to climate change, but I didn't know enough about it, and now I've done this research on it, and I'm about to interview this guy shortly, and now I'm kind of thinking, oh my God, maybe there's a little bit of a hope,
Yeah.
maybe these people are alarmists and there's other agendas behind this.
Yeah.
So
As you say, we're watching the left hand and not taking any notice of what the right hand's doing. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. Our final question is, so what's going on over the end of this year up until and for 2020? Have you got anything on the horizon you'd like to tell anyone about?
Oh, well, we've got a few little bits and pieces. I've got the other than I'm currently doing my doctorate in metaphysical science, so I'm hoping to have that all finished by next year sometime. The joys of that. But next year, I'm going to be launching a retreat, a 7-day retreat, probably towards the end of next year to help, I guess, put people back into themselves and reconnect them to, who they are and all that sort of thing. So, in the process at the moment of finalising details for that. I've also looking to have a launch of my new book, which will at the moment just sort of polishing and it's all about the fundamentals and subjects of the spiritual and metaphysical world, including things like energy and grounding and then working progressively on with like numbers and angels and then of course going deeper into things like dark night of the soul and levels of consciousness. So the hope is to have that for next year launched, and that will be the Modern Lightworkers Manual that will be published. So yeah, a few little things on the plate, and that's without even just the everyday stuff of working with people and launching new courses and stuff through Universal Lightworking Academy and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, so bit of a busy, you could say, 16, 18 months coming up.
Oh, that's good. I like it when people are busy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Keep ourselves out of trouble.
Exactly. So on behalf of the readers and listeners, thank you, Amanda Jean, AJ, for an enlightening interview, and we'll be in touch.
Hey, look forward to it. Thank you so much for the time.